She was telling me the other day, we were talking about the political environment of today, and they had an interim pastor come in, and he started preaching, and then he started preaching a little bit of politics on the pulpit. And it's a small church. If you've ever been to Antioch, it's a small church with not a ton of people in there.
We probably had 30.
30.
Wow.
And my Aunt Willie Wood stood up for the second time in her life, because apparently she did it when she was like 8 years old, because she wanted the preacher to shut up then too. And
sometimes they need a
yeah, but I mean, I forget what
the man was. He was really downing the Democrats, and I know some people in the church that are pretty strong Democrats, and I suspect actually that more people in the church were Democrats than Republicans.
Yeah.
But anyhow, regardless of that, what he was saying was out of place. And I was concerned, and I could just feel Lois Tiller, who is my good friend, who is a staunch Democrat, I could just feel Lois is gonna die. I mean, she's really concerned. I won't say pissed off, but
she was.
Anyhow, when he started, he said, 4 years ago, and that was the trigger. I stood up and I said, "Sir, we came to church this morning to worship God and not for a political rally." So then he shut up. But when I was little, and my mother told this, so I guess it was true, although she could probably embellish it too, but anyhow, it was just a small country church, and I wanted to go home. And Mother said, "We can't go until he stops talking." So I slid myself down off the pew. I was a little bit chubby little thing, and I marched up the aisle and I said, "Shut up!"
To the preacher.
He didn't shut up.
He didn't listen to you. But I bet you the guy,
the
second guy, listened a little bit more,
But everybody in the church that has said anything about it has said thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It was what he was saying was completely out of place.
But the fact that you stood up and told him, to interrupt anybody's sermon, I don't know if I have the guts for that, but I might. When you say, "This isn't right for our church," you knew your church. He was just a visiting preacher.
Yeah.
You knew your church. You knew it wasn't right. And you've been there long enough, you had that power to get up and say, "Hey, just shut up,"
Well, they do listen at me, whatever. I don't know why, but anyhow.
We won't say why, that you've been there for a long time.
Well, sometimes I speak up. When I was on the school board, we were having a meeting with the Board of Supervisors, budget.
Yes.
And every time we tried to do something, there were certain members, and one particular member of the Board of Supervisors, who was always opposed to everything we tried to do. He detested the superintendent of schools. And so we were in this joint meeting. I think at that time I was the chairman of the school board, and I guess was sort of presiding. And Mr. Cosner, from the Board of Supervisors, started palavering how he had always supported the schools, and he had done all this for the schools, and one thing and another. And I said, "Mr. Cosner, that's not true." I called him a liar to his face in a public meeting.
Woohoo!
And if I had put a stick of dynamite under him, it would not have made him any madder. And he said, "I wish you were a man." I said, "Go ahead and hit me." I would have slapped his silly face sideways. But we did eventually go on and have the meeting, and I don't know that what we came to
You
on
might
the
not
budget,
resolve
but
anything.
anyhow. But as
Now,
we
you
left,
were not only the first woman on the school board in Spotsylvania County, but you are now chairman of the school board?
yeah,
Wow.
and as we went on down the hall leaving, Mr. Neely, the superintendent, walked up to me and patted me on the shoulder. He didn't say anything, but I knew because, I mean, Hugh had been so ugly to him. And John Neely was, I think, the best superintendent we probably had in my time. But he was not a very always agreeable person. I mean, he said what he thought, and he stepped on toes. But he was very concerned about all of the children, not just the ones who Mom and Dad came to the board meeting and fussed about something.
Yeah.
You know, and so Hugh had been such a thorn in his flesh that